This conference is really the reason we're here at this time of the year. So our firm has been a growing firm, and now we are looking to make the next step. So we are here to seek investors, and this is the place to be to do that.
Why is Dubai a compelling place, do you think, at this time?
Well, Dubai, the UAE, and to an extent the entire GCC regions, but especially here in the UAE and in Dubai, they really are trying to build the future of mankind. They do have this vision and this thought process of building not technologies and new businesses and new companies, not just for the sake of the technologies, but for the betterment of human lives. We see that all around us here in Dubai. They really are trying to advance everything: businesses, industries, culture, government services, everything. And we are aligned with that thinking, I think, in a lot of ways. Most investors are really looking for short-term gain. There's nothing wrong with that. Most investors are really looking for the next great technology. Nothing wrong with that. But that is limiting in scope. Here in the region, we're very refreshing to see people are taking a long-term view and are looking for new opportunities that not only do advance our technical capabilities, advance mankind, but really are working towards the betterment of everyone's lives. We really feel aligned to that, and that is the kind of investor that we want with our team.
Tell me a bit about your company.
We are a 5-year-old now public health firm with a global reach. Right? What we do is take health data on health outcomes and costs against social determinants of health. It's become a very popular word in the United States, or phrase in the United States. Essentially, it just means how we define the world we live in, all of the data that defines that. Populations, demographic information, cell phone location data, social media data, all of the kinds of data that define the world we live in. We analyze all of those things to do two things. One, we extract what we call risk stratification at a population health level for adverse outcomes. So for instance, we can develop a risk stratification to identify from a population of expectant mothers which is most likely to suffer a maternal or child health complication at labor and delivery. So we can work with health systems to intervene for those expectant mothers so they don't have those outcomes. And we can also work with health systems to adapt their facilities to meet future needs. So for instance, we've worked with health systems to identify how many cancer beds they need today and into the future to treat their populations. So we come from a background of understanding the resource levels required to meet healthcare needs. And then, of course, we're hit by a pandemic, which is a situation the world hasn't seen. So it's actually ripe for us. What we do in terms of addressing what the risk is and what we need to address this risk, pandemic, viral contagion, is exactly what we do and is exactly what the world needs.
And how has your sort of platform been useful? How can your platform be useful here in the UAE?
Well, our platform is in place and it is useful for the UAE and everywhere in the world. It does a number of things. We can track the transmission and spread of coronavirus, COVID-19, and hopefully soon the regression of the disease as well. We can identify those populations that are at specific risk of either mortality or having a critical case of COVID-19 due to the virus. And we have successfully aided a number of U.S. states in assessing the level of PPE and ventilators they need to treat their populations. Our transmission and mortality risk indices have been used by the WHO in the Central American region as well as throughout the Africa region. There's a number of ways that we are helping. Currently, we are working with the HHS and the WHO on vaccine deployment strategies by analyzing the potential second, eventual third wave of coronavirus.
And what are your goals in 2021?
You know, we are so focused on defeating the pandemic that what is after the pandemic is, you know, sometimes it feels like we're diverting attention from life-saving work to do that. But our goals are to build a brand new, all-digital pandemic early warning, recovery, and response platform for the world. So one of the big problems that we learned here is that without a single, central, authoritative data analytic platform in the world today, there was a great deal of confusion and a lack of trust on what actually was happening how contagious is the virus, how infectious is the virus, how virulent is coronavirus. And there was really very little cross-border coordination on response efforts. Right? That actually did lead to some of the economic distress and loss of life from the pandemic. So having worked on the pandemic now for, it seems, 17 years, but 12 months, we now feel we do have the insights to build a digital system that can, by analyzing signals around the world from different data sources, can identify signs for early human-to-human transmission and signal an alert for the world in a transparent single platform that if people don't want to believe the result, they can analyze on their own and come to their own conclusions, but then can facilitate coordinated response to stop what could become a pandemic early in its cycle.